If you got your Bibles, I hope you do. Go ahead and turn to John chapter 4. John chapter 4. We're going to look at verse 46 through 54. John chapter 4, verse 46 through 54. While you're turning there, let me share a story that I read this week. It was about a husband whose wife said, I want you to go to the grocery store for me. And she gave him a list, and he had to go to the grocery store. And as he was going, he probably does like I do. If my wife gives me a list, I usually walk all the aisles. How many of y'all walk all the aisles just to make sure you don't miss anything? He started to walk all the aisles, and as he was walking the aisles, he saw a father and looked like about a 3-year-old boy. So he saw him early on in the produce, and then they went to the next aisle. The next aisle was the candy aisle. And the little 3-year-old saying, I want a candy bar. And he's saying it loud enough so that this person heard it. And then after that, he heard the father say, now, Billy, this won't take long. And he just said it in a nice, slow, quiet whisper so that the father and the son would hear this. Well, they go to the next aisle, cereal aisle. And the boy starts to scream, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. He said he heard the dad say, Billy, just calm down. We'll be done in a minute. So they keep going through, and he keeps hearing the son screaming out, and he keeps hearing the dad saying, hold on, just wait. We'll be through in just a minute. They make it to the dairy part, the frozen part, where the ice cream is. Well, at this point in time, the 3-year-old's having a tantrum. He wants some ice cream, and he's letting everybody around know that he wants ice cream, and he hears the dad whisper, Billy, settle down. We're almost out of here. So then after that, they get to the checkout. The man and the 3-year-old boy's in front of him. He's behind him. And you know how grocery stores are. They put all this stuff that you have to deal with. So all the stuff that he had been yelling that he wanted, the candy's there, the gum's there, all that stuff's there, the drinks are there, and so he's screaming, kicking, and everything, ready just to get out of the buggy and go grab some stuff. He hears the dad say, Billy, we'll be in the car in just a minute, then everything will be okay. Well, the guy checks out, he starts to go on, and he's pushing the cart and going on to his car. The guy behind, he checks out, and he wants to hurry up and go over to him and say, I just admire you for keeping your patience, not going off on your kid, wanting to try to kill your kid or anything. So he catches up to him, and he hears him talking again to Billy, and he says, Billy, we're done. It's going to be okay. And so the guy taps him on the shoulder. He said, I just want to commend you for how you handled your son during all this stuff. And the guy looked at him and said, sir, you don't get it, do you? He said, get what? He said, I'm Billy. So he just kept telling himself, it's going to be okay. We're going to make it through this the whole way so that he wouldn't lose it and not worry about the kid. Dads need help, right? Would y'all agree with that? All dads need help. Our son was born early. He was 6 weeks premature. So we had gone through parenting classes. You know, your first kid, you're kind of worried and you want to make sure everything's taken care of and you do everything just right. And so we had done the parenting classes back then, and I flew through them. Not really watching, going through the motions. And so then when it's like John Michael's here, it's like, oh no, John Michael's here. What do I do now? Well, because he was early, Shannon she was bedridden at this point. She couldn't get up or anything. The nurses took me under their wing. And they said, do you know how to swaddle him? And I'm like, well, I don't, come on back. We're going to teach you how to. And they taught me how to swaddle him. They said, do you know how to feed him? I said, well, they said, come on. And they showed me how to do everything to the point, and I learned a lesson on this one. is that Shannon started to do it, and I'm like, no, they didn't show me this way. And I saw that look and said, but that's okay. You do it your way. I'm sure it'll be good. And I just left it at that and walked away. But we need all the help we can get, right? And we'll take all the help we can get. Because being a dad is a hard job. Today we're going to see a father, and we're going to see a father and his faith. So on your listening guide, our big idea is teach the next generation to have faith in Jesus. Teach the next generation to have faith in Jesus. So let's get started. Starting in verse 46 of chapter 4 of John. It says, therefore he came again to Cana of Galilee, where he had made the water wine. And there was a royal official whose son was sick in Capernaum. And when he heard that Jesus had come out of Judea into Galilee, he went to him and was imploring him to come down and to heal his son, for he was at the point of death. So Jesus said to him, unless you people see signs and wonders, you simply will not believe. All right, let's stop and start going through this. The first point on your listening guide is have faith in the right one. Have faith in the right one. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on this passage. We've been camped down in Revelation, so let me give you a little bit of background on this. Canaan is where Jesus performed his first miracle. Do y'all want to guess what that miracle was? Yeah, y'all read verse 46, didn't you? That's where he turned the water into wine. Now, John, in his gospel, he gives 7 signs that Jesus is the Messiah. And he said, if you read through these 7 signs, you will know Jesus is the Messiah. You want to guess what the first sign was? Jesus turned water into wine. Yeah, I know. It's kind of simple, right? Because it's right there. Do you want to guess what the second sign is? This one right here, where Jesus comes back to Canaan. And he is going to deal with a father and a son. John says in chapter 20 that if you read all of these signs, you will have enough proof that Jesus is who he said he is. He's the Messiah, the one who came to save us from ourselves. So here's the situation. We're introduced in verse 46 to a royal official. Some translations say a nobleman. And his son is sick. He's sick to the point of death. So this is serious. Now, parents, when your kids are sick, would you do anything for them to get them better? Would you go anywhere? Would you pay anything? Yeah. I mean, you just say, all right, here's my wallet. You take whatever. I want to make sure that my son or my daughter is safe. I want to make sure they're good. And so this man that he hears, and most scholars believe that this man worked for Herod. Now, not Herod when Jesus was born, but Herod that had John the Baptist beheaded. He worked for him, most likely. He had heard about Jesus before. He had heard about the miracles that he had performed. And now he hears that he has come to Cana, and his son is sick. And he says, well, if he's performed miracles there, maybe he can perform a miracle for me. And so let me go to where he's at. Now, Capernaum and Canaan are about 20 miles apart. So that meant for him to go there, that's a 20-mile walk because no cars back then. That was about an all-day walk back then. How many of y'all could walk 20 miles in a day? I know, don't raise your hands. That's all right. Back then, it was about a day's walk to get there, and that'd be an all-day walk that you were going. And so he heard about Jesus, and he decides, I'm going to him, so he takes an all-day trip so that he can go and meet with Jesus. Now, he's on a mission. His mission is that he is on a miracle-seeking faith trip. He needs a miracle. He has faith that Jesus is going to do it, and he's seeking it, so he's going out and he's going to find him. He's not going for a show. He's going for his son because he loves his son and he wants to take care of him. He believed, meaning he had faith that Jesus could heal him once he got there. And so he wants to go. We see here in verse 47, it says, when he heard that Jesus had come out of Judea into Galilee, he went to him. Now, once he got there, after the 20-mile walk all day, he gets there. Here's what happens. It says, and he was imploring him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. He goes to him, and the idea here is that he is begging him. He's pleading with him. Please come with me because my son is sick. He's to the point of death, and he needs a miracle. Please come with me. Look at Jesus' reply. Verse 48. It says, so Jesus said to him, unless you people see signs and wonders, you simply will not believe. See, there are some people at this point in time, they're on miracle-seeking trips too, but they're on miracle-seeking trips because they want a show. This man wanted his son healed. Others wanted to show. And see, they had heard that Jesus had come, and they said, well, look, he came back to Canaan. Remember last time he was in Canaan, he turned the water into wine. Everybody talked about it. So now he's back in town. So let's go find out what he's going to do this time. I wonder what miracles he'll work this time. And so they're on something different. They're on one where they want to see something. They want to show. They've heard, now they want to be able to see this. And at this point in time, he's starting to have a big following. People are starting to follow him. The word's getting out that this man's different than everybody else. And this man is healing people, and he's teaching in a different way than anybody's ever seen. And so people are wanting to come out. They want to see the show. And so Jesus replies, and he says, you see signs and wonders, you simply do not believe. Now, he is not talking directly to the man at this point in time. This you is plural, so he's talking to the whole crowd, meaning all of you want to just come and you just want the show. I'm not about the show. That's what he's wanting them to understand. Now, before we go to the next point, I want you to notice something. The father heard about Jesus, and he decided to go to Jesus, and not only go to Jesus, but he begged Jesus to come and heal his son. He went to the right one for the solution that he needed. Same's true today. When we have problems, we can go to all different places, but we go to the right one for the solution. And our right one is Christ. We go to him and we ask him to help us in that situation. Now, our world's going to give all different kind of things. You can go here, you can go there. They can have all different kind of options, and some are good options. But when it comes down to putting your faith in where you will spend eternity, there's only one option. And there's only one option that you go to. And that's Jesus. And this man, he's coming to Jesus. People go to Jesus for all different reasons. Y'all realize that? Some people go because of addiction. And they cry out and they say, I'm tired of dealing with this. Take this away from me. I've heard stories of that. Some are lonely and they just want somebody that understands them. And they come to Jesus because he understands them. Some people, they have grief. And they go to the person that's going to help them to deal with that grief, because he can help with that part. Some don't have a family and they come to him and they say, I want you to be my family. And he accepts them in. And then they have a huge family because of that. Others, they just have something in their life. They're like, something's missing in my life and I don't know what it is. Do you realize that he can fill that void? Because he fills the void that nobody else can fill. And so they come to him for that reason. Others, they say, I need guidance right now. You ever wanted to figure out what I do on the next step? I can relate to that. Y'all can laugh on that one, okay? You go to Jesus, and he gives you guidance during that time. Some people need forgiveness. They know they've messed up. And they go to him and they ask for the forgiveness that he offers. And he offers it freely. And then others are like this man. They need healing. And they come to him and they say, Lord, if it's your will, please. This man is coming to him and he's saying, please, just go and help my son. Just go and heal my son. Fathers, grandfathers, but it's not just fathers and grandfathers, it's parents, grandparents, it's all of us. Our job is to point the next generation towards the right one, which is Jesus Christ. And if we're not doing that, and guess what? We're not doing what God wants us to do. Our job is to point the next generation towards the one that can change their lives. Now, can you make them believe? No. Wouldn't that be so easy? You got to believe this. But it doesn't work that way. But our job isn't to make them believe. Our job is to show them the way. Show them the one, the right one that can do everything for them. So a simple question for you, have you done that? If you're a father, have you shown your son or daughter the right one? If you're a grandfather, have you shown your grandchildren, your children, the right one? That leads to the second point on your listening guide. Faith always has action with it. Faith always has action with it. We see it starting in verse 49. It says, the royal official said to him, Sir, come down before my child dies. And Jesus said to him, Go, your son lives. The man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and started off. And as he was going down, his slaves met him, saying that his son was living. And so he inquired of them the hour which he began to get better. And they said to him, Yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. And so the father knew that that was the hour which Jesus had said to him, Your son lives. And he himself believed, and his whole household. And this again is a second sign that Jesus performed when he had come out of Judea into Galilee. Now in this section, we're going to see a few things. I want you to see first that when you have faith, it needs to lead to action. Okay? If you got faith, then it has to have action with it. The Father heard about Jesus, heard the stories about Jesus, and then he said that I have faith that Jesus can help with this. But then the next thing is he gets up and he goes to Jesus. That's action, right? He hears it, he believes it, but then he has to get up and he has to go to Jesus. So faith has action with it. His goal then is when he sees Jesus is he wants him to come back to him to Capernaum. Look at verse 49. It says, The royal official said to him, Sir, come down before my child dies. Now in verse 49, that sir, it also can be written as Lord. He's a royal official and he's coming to Jesus and he's saying, Jesus, you're in charge. He's submitting to Jesus at this point in time and he's pleading with him, please come with me. At this point in time, he had in his mind that Jesus had to be right there with his son. So he needed to come back to Capernaum with him so that he could see his son, maybe lay hands on his son, but pray for his son or do whatever else he had to do, but it had to be right there in front of him. And so he believed Jesus could do it, but he also said, but you got to be there with him. And he also thought that if Jesus was with him, he could be healed. But then the next thing was, if Jesus didn't go with him, his son wouldn't be healed. And so that's in his mind at this point in time. But here's the thing. God doesn't work that way. Y'all realize that? God just speaks and things happen. God spoke and things were created. So he can just speak and this son will be healed. So look at Jesus' reply. Look at verse 50. It says, Jesus said to him, Go, your son lives. And the man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him, and he started off. Jesus gives just a simple reply, go. And it's a commandment. It's a commandment to go. Don't stay here. Go. But then he gives them the reason why go. Because his son lives. Meaning that his son has been healed. Everything that the man wanted just happened just by Jesus saying the word, go, your son lives. And so everything happens. But notice something. Look at the man's reaction. Does he plead anymore for Jesus to come with him? That's the question. Y'all can say yes or no. How many of y'all say yes? How many of y'all say no? Yeah, it's no, right? He doesn't plead anymore. It says the man believed, that means faith, but then the man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him, and then what is the very next thing that he does? He left action. He believed, he had faith, but then he put his faith into action, that he turned around and he walked away and started to go home. Now, does he run back home? No, he goes at a normal pace. We can see that because we see that his servants come later and they're talking with him. So he's not rushing home. He's just going home at a normal pace because the thing that he wanted has already happened, and now he can go back home. How many of us would rush home on that one? Yeah, I think I would see how far I could run 20 miles. Now, I don't think I can run 20 miles. No, there's no way. I'd be huffing and puffing the whole way. But I would try my best to be able to go back and see if my son was healed. Let me put it this way. Here's the thing about faith. Now, I can tell y'all all day long that that chair will hold you. You'd be like, okay, it will, Sean. And you would have faith that it would hold you. I mean, it's little, right? But until you actually sit, you haven't put your faith in action. You haven't shown that you really, truly trust and believe. And so until you sit in it, then you'll never know. You might say it, but saying is one thing, doing it is another, and that's where the action part kicks in. I know y'all want to see me sit in this chair, right? So see, oh, this is going to be hard getting out. All right. This chair will hold me. Now I have to get out. Ugh. There's a difference in saying it and believing it and then doing something about it. And that's the thing that we have to realize, is that when you have faith, that means there needs to be action involved with it. Saying it's one thing, but doing it's another thing. And this man put action to his faith by turning around and going back home. He had faith now at this point in time that Jesus could just speak and his son was healed. And that's not what he believed when he first got there, because he had been around Jesus and realized this man can just say a word and things happen. And he believed him, and he turns around and he walks back. He's going back on the way home. He meets some of his servants, and they tell him that his son is good. And then the very next thing he said is, when did he get better? And it says, yesterday at the 7th hour, the fever left him. Now, the 7th hour can either be 7 p.m. or 1 p.m., depending on if you're doing Roman time or Jewish time. You can take your pick which one you want, okay? But what the big thing is the exact moment that Jesus said, your son lives, he was healed, and he started to do better. And the father knew when Jesus said go, that it was done. And he put action to his faith. And he turns around and he walks away. But then look at the very last part of it. It says, so that the father knew that it was the hour which Jesus had said, your son lives. He himself believed, and his whole household believed also. He believed, but also his whole household believed also. He shared what had happened. He shared about his trip going up and meeting Jesus, and then Jesus saying, go. It's done. He's healed. And then he goes back home and he sees that he's healed. You know what we see playing out is Joshua chapter 24, when Joshua says, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Meaning that he was sharing with everybody in that house what happened on his trip, how his son was healed, so that everybody else also believed because he shared with them. And so the last thing I want you to see on this, one is I want you to see that faith leads to action. But the next thing is I want you to see is that when your faith leads to action, then the very next thing is you need to share what that action was. You need to share it with somebody else. See, this man, he believed in Jesus, he went to Jesus, then he heard Jesus, believed him again, left, goes back, and then he shares it with the whole household. And then what happens? The whole household believes also. When was the last time you shared about something you did with God? Shared it with the next generation that needs to hear it. And let them know that you have faith in Him, but that faith leads to action, and then that action means that you go out and you do things for Him. When was the last time you shared that with somebody? Because see, we need to let the next generation know. That's not just parents, that's not just grandparents, that's all of us. We need to let the next generation know. We need to let them know about our faith, how our faith leads to action, and then how that action, the results of that action that we do. We need to let them know that. Why? So that your whole household will know. Does that mean that they're all going to become believers and they're all going to start becoming followers of Christ? No. Because God makes each of us different and we each have a choice to make ourselves. But we still give them that opportunity by sharing with them. Bottom line today is faith in Jesus leads to action with Jesus. Faith in Jesus leads to action in Jesus. Before you can have action, you have to have faith. So the first question for everybody is, do you have faith in Jesus? If not, I'll be down front, and I'll be glad to share with you how you can have a relationship with Him. Second then is, if you do have that faith, are you in action for Jesus? Or are you just sitting there saying, I believe, but you're not doing anything else? Why not get in action for Him? Why not start serving Him? And then the last thing is, once you're in action with Him, then are you sharing that with other people? Are you sharing that first with your house and then going out further than that? Because we need to share the actions that we do for Jesus, so that we can share it with the next generation and they understand why we're doing the things we're doing, why our faith is so important, and what it means to us. So do you have faith? Are you in action for Him? And are you sharing that with others? That's a question for all of us. All right, let's close in prayer. Lord, I thank you, Lord, that you show us